My house sits farther back on the lot than most other houses. It has a strange layout as well. The sidewalk runs the length of the living room and ends at the front porch, which opens into the living room. Large windows that do not open allow great light to pour in, but at the cost of no privacy. The rest of my family was on vacation, and having the house to myself, I decided I would get a little drunk. Well, I passed out on the couch in the living room at about 9, after realizing I was too scared to walk back to my room. The couch is right underneath those big windows. I woke up suddenly, not knowing why. I had a severe case of the chills, and I couldn't figure out the reason. Then the banging started. It came from right above me. I didn't move, but I opened my eyes and looked up at the window. Someone was standing there pounding on the glass. Without moving, I glanced at the cable box. It was around 3 in the morning. The banging continued. Then it stopped suddenly, but I still didn't move. Suddenly it started again, coming from 2 different directions now. Someone was banging on the window, and another person was banging on the front door. They kept doing it. They wouldn't go away. Finally, after about 40 minutes, they quit. It was the most terrifying event I can recall at the moment. It made me a nervous wreck after that. I called a friend the next day to see if he would come over and stay for the rest of the week, and his response was, "What the heck for? So that we can both be murdered in our sleep?" I was 17 and had just gotten my license. Back in high school, my friends and I had made it a mission to find abandoned houses to throw parties in. We had a few good candidates, but the jackpot was this house I would pass on my way home from work. It was an undeveloped shell of a huge home with a large property in the back. I had told one of my friends about it, and one day before we went to see a movie, I took him to the house. It was about dusk in the summer, so I had my headlights on. I pulled into the front of the house, and we were there for like 10 seconds tops before we turned around to head back to the main road. A minute later, this big truck pulls up behind us with its high beams on and is riding our bumper. My friend and I took note of it, but we didn't think much of it as we headed back to the main road. At the light, I turned right, but the truck cut through the gas station at the corner and blocked us off. Out of the truck comes this huge man, and my friend and I were freaking out. He rapped on the window and I rolled it down. Now, the really freaky part is that this is a busy road, and suddenly there was no one in sight. He asks us what we were doing at the house, and I quickly lied and said we were making a U-turn. He stared at us for a few seconds, smiled, and sent us on our way. To this day, the house remains unfinished, and I'm convinced it's a drug operation of some sort. This is not supernatural creepy, but it's one of the more disturbing and surreal experiences of my life. One early morning a few short years ago, I was walking to my bus stop and eating a banana. It was dark, misty, around 5 a.m., and I was internally debating something trivial, like whether I wanted my daily Starbucks before or after the commute. As I approached the dimly lit corner on my street, a tall man in a black mask stepped out of the dark alleyway to my left. Sleepy and disoriented, I barely acknowledged him when he shouted, "Put down your darn purse," and pointed his gun at my head. Things started to click. The man said, "Put down your bags." And I told him, Okay, I'm putting them down over here." He ordered me to walk over to him toward the alley and get down on the darn ground, and I agreed, "I'm coming, okay." My heart was beating 1,000,000 miles a minute and my hands still smelled sticky with banana. I knew I needed to get away. I don't know why, but my mouth wouldn't stop working. Look, see, I'm on the ground. My stuff is over there. Please just take my stuff. But he didn't like that. Shut up, okay? He yelled. He got on top of me and pressed the gun to my head. At this point, I should mention that I was on my way to coach a high school practice, and I was dressed like a guy. Huge baggy pants, hat, jacket. If not for my telltale voice, I'd look like a preteen 90s rap star. Anyway, as the guy got on top of me, gun to my head, he looked at me and paused. I can't tell you why I know this, but I swear that at that moment it clicked for him that I was a woman. He got off of me, stood up, and pointed to the dark alley. Come with me. My stomach dropped. I remembered that there had been a recent rash of sexual assaults in my neighborhood. During the daytime, no less. When the man pointed down that dirty alleyway, my internal voice spoke up. Says voice number 1. There is no way in the world you're going down there without a fight. But he has a gun, you dummy, replied voice number 2. Follow me. The real voice, his voice, hollered. So I did what I do best. I talked. I'm coming, I'm following you, I called. And the man made a crucial mistake. He believed me. I took 2 tiny steps backward toward the sidewalk, and he turned his body and his gun toward the alley. That was my moment. I took a deep breath, tucked my head down in case he started shooting, and started sprinting away. I heard a voice screaming in a high-pitched wail before realizing it was mine. After running 6 or 7 blocks, I headed back to my apartment, praying he wasn't there to see where I lived. The police checked out the alleyway an hour later, but the potential attacker was long gone. The only evidence of the encounter was my banana peel browning in the alleyway, and the adrenaline rush I couldn't shake for days. I'd be lying if I said that experience doesn't still bother me. But I'm so fortunate to be haunted by the what-ifs and not the what-dids.